Thank you, everybody, for joining the Bassfug Podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest from New York City, Michael Mason, a producer slash DJ, as described by his bio. How are you today, Michael?
I'm doing about as well as I can be. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, for the 10th time, thank you for being so gracious with your time. So we were talking about your new release that's coming out tomorrow. I don't know if the podcast will be out by then, but surely you aren't going to delete it. So let's talk about Animal Crossing. This is a hot topic on the Bassfug Podcast. Actually, we talk about it a lot. We have a mutual friend, I guess, a mutual interest. Ben Jordan. I see you retweeted one of his tweets on your Twitter. We interviewed him a few weeks back, and he was hooked on the Animal Crossing too. Him and his acquaintance. So let's start talking about KK Slider.
Yeah, KK is a real inspiration.
Really?
And I'm not even saying that facetiously. Like, he's got some great tunes. The song that is coming out tomorrow, it's inspired by a poem that somebody wrote on Twitter that I found really powerful. And the second half of the song is an actual KK song called Stale Cupcakes. So it's a nice little mesh of those two things.
Nice. What's my favorite KK Slider song? I think it's KK Karaoke, or no, KK Bubblegum. Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, but every time he comes on Saturday to the town square, I type it in and he doesn't play it. So I don't know what.
Yeah, you have to there's a list of codes you can actually look up and see all the songs. There's 180 of them.
That's insane.
It's insane. They really went all out for the writing, which is very impressive.
So what drew you to Animal Crossing? Were you always a big player, or did you just start at New Horizon? Or
yeah, New Horizons was my first experience with it, other than maybe once or twice playing at a friend's house.
Yeah,
but I think it was just kind of fate with the quarantine.
It came out at a great time for that, huh?
Yeah, it came out right at the beginning, and I got it the day it launched, and I just kind of sunk myself into it in a way that I kind of had to, because I found myself not working as much and just kind of sitting in my apartment alone. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, let's be productive, quote unquote, and just build something beautiful. Even if it's in a game, it still feels like I'm being productive, which was nice.
And it's so relaxing because it takes sort of those elements of reality, our reality, and just sort of condenses them and vulgarizes them in a way that it's almost parodying life. When you're talking, you have the grumpy villager, you have this villager, you're communicating about nothingness, and it was very good company at the beginning of an uncertain time. I don't know if you agree.
Absolutely. And that's what the song is about. It's about how it's just an escape. The last line of the song is, "There's nothing to worry about here." And I think that just rings very true for that game. It makes you feel warm and safe in a time that is very turbulent at best and scary at worst. So it's nice to have that outlet.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of staying safe, you got tested for COVID? Is that what I read?
I did get tested for COVID today. This is actually my second time getting tested, just because it's free and it's easy, and it takes about 15 minutes. And I'm maybe seeing some family and some friends this weekend, so I want to ensure that I'm keeping everyone safe. So it's just the easy, responsible thing to do. Even though I don't have any symptoms and I don't think I've been exposed, I want to just double check.
Yeah, that's actually really smart. I think I saw Graz, a producer, a friend of the show. He or a friend of mine, anyways. He posted something on social media saying, I think it was along the lines of, I'm just paraphrasing. It was just because you're over COVID doesn't mean COVID is over.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, I respect that. So. How were you handling quarantine? Like, were you writing more, or were you just absorbed by Animal Crossing?
So I think it's really ebbed and flowed. And that's always been my creative process. I've found I struggle to force myself to write, but when I am feeling creative, I have been pumping out a lot more music. And that's just because I'm always home now. I don't have the disadvantage of having to go to a day job anymore, where like sometimes that creativity would strike and I would have to write something down in my notepad or record a voice memo.
Mhm.
And then by the time I got home, those creative juices were gone. Whereas now, if I'm just sitting on the couch watching Netflix and I'm like, oh, I have an idea, I take 5 steps because I'm in New York City and my apartment is a closet.
Mm.
And then I'm in my studio and I can just record whatever I want very quickly. So it's kind of hit or miss.
Did you grow up in New York, or did you move there?
So I grew up in upstate New York. So actual upstaters from Buffalo will say it's downstate. It's a small place, Orange County, New York, town called Goshen. And then I moved here for college back in 2012, and I've been here pretty much ever since.
Was your was your ambitions to go to New York also, I guess, related to pursuing a career in music, or was it college first, music second?
So I always wanted to do music. My intention initially with college was to major in music. Then I found that my college didn't offer that major, so that was a huge barrier. And I didn't really see a career going for music. So then I ended up majoring in music management, which I did for a couple of years before I dropped out. Started More Creativity Records with my current manager, Zach. And from there, it just kind of like spiraled and grew into an actual career.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. You started your own label, or you started your own management company?
So our own label. It's called More Creativity Records. We're based out of Brooklyn. It's basically, the concept was to give a platform for underdeveloped, unknown artists, really, who didn't have a way into the industry. And we just handle all the distribution for them, handle all the marketing, all the promo, and make sure that they're getting their fair shake of everything.
Let's stick here for a second. Can you talk to me more about more Creativity Records a little bit?
Of course. Yeah. So what do you want to know? Anything specific?
Well, like I said earlier, we got the gearheads and stuff, but then we also have the people that don't really know how the sausage is made, So I think for the people listening, I think they'd like to know, what's it like running your own label? What's it like starting your own label? What do you have to do in order to start? Do you have to hire people? Do you do it all yourself? What do you do for promotion? All that stuff. I think that could help someone who wants to do their own thing, across the world,
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step to starting a label is to just start it. You're not going to have to form an LLC or anything right away. We just started as a promotional label. So essentially what we did was we created a SoundCloud channel and reached out to all our friends in the industry and tried to just build a following up as quick as we could. And then from there, we just started sharing other people's work, supporting them, reposting them, tweeting about it, posting on Facebook, just generally supporting artists who weren't receiving a ton of support. And then from there, we started doing releases on a monthly basis. And now we have over 100 releases under our belt. And it's been mainly a process of just finding great music from artists who really don't have a huge following. And then we just send it out to as many people as possible. We post it on our socials. We have a pretty large repost chain that we can run things through to make sure that artists are getting the listens and the plays that they deserve on these really masterful tracks that otherwise might just go unheard.
Okay, this is good. There's a few things I want to talk about that you said there.
Cool.
What is a repost chain?
So this is like a kind of new concept in the SoundCloud world. And it's something that I'm not a huge fan of personally, but it's become kind of a necessity. Essentially, what it is it's a website that lets you schedule reposts out in advance. So we have a network of a ton of artists who, as soon as they have a release that they want promotion on, they send it to us, and we're able to schedule all the other artists in the chain to share that song automatically. So that way it goes out to not just one artist's fan base, but all those artists' fan bases at once.
Okay. Sorry, I'm taking notes here.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
So
and it's it's become.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
you go. No, you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's become such a standard on SoundCloud that now, without the use of those, it's kind of hard to get anything to stick. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's just such commonplace now.
So with these now, I'm a boomer. I'm getting into boomer territory. All right. So if I'm asking you questions that are just like, who is this old man or whatever, like I apologize in advance or whatever. Right. For me, it was the MySpace days. Right. And I remember in MySpace, you kind of had like auto friend adders and stuff like that. But that's like sort of the extent of what I know. But when you're talking about repost chains on SoundCloud, what I want to know is, are those reposts valuable? And I don't mean to, I'm just being devil's advocate here for the noobs and the normies out there and myself. Are those reposts valuable, or are those like considered spam by like the system?
So they're not considered spam. I wouldn't say they're the most valuable things in the world.
Okay.
I think it's more of a necessity at this point. If you want a song to be heard, you just need some sort of promotion. And it's not like we're spamming it out to random people. All the artists in the chain know each other. They're in the chain together. Yeah. So we make sure a dubstep artist isn't reposting a lo-fi song. It's all related artists, and they're promoting similar music. Mm-hmm. So it's basically a way to look at it is like a network that you can just send a chat to and say, hey, my new song is out. Can you guys give it a listen, give it some support? And that way everyone kind of comes up together.
Okay. Yeah. I really respect that. One of the reasons why I started this podcast was I was like, hey, all these people that I'm finding on SoundCloud or my buddies or whatever, they're getting no recognition and they're great, you know? And then you sort of find out that you have to become the media of sorts, you know, and you have to build a platform to provide people that you think are important to be heard, you know? So I could tell that More Creativity Records has a good intention in mind. Does it cost money to go on this, or you scout people and you just sort of do it for free?
We do it all for free. We would never like charge an artist or anything like that. So the way it basically works is we'll receive a demo, we'll listen to demos, and if we like it, we'll offer to sign it and then release it for them.
That's incredible. When you say sign it, since it's free, you own the song, or what do you mean by that?
So like we'll sign it to a distribution deal. So we'll put it on Spotify, all the different streaming platforms as well, in addition to SoundCloud. Okay. And that way the artists can get their share of the revenue as well.
Cool. Is that hard to maintain, or do you have like sort of, it sounds like you have a system down pat,
So luckily I am no longer the one running it. That is my manager, Zach, my partner. He is really the one manning the ship. So I wish I could go more into depth. He would definitely be the one to really know the ins and outs of how that works. But I know that he's got it working like a well-oiled machine at this point.
Yeah, you have to. I think if there's one takeaway from you saying that, and even the way how I run the podcast, it's the same way too. You know, you create a process and then you have people help you. And I think a lot of musicians, they take the burden themselves because they think, oh, I'm not a big label guy. Like I do everything myself. But, you know, I think the trick is you have to sort of become your own big label and have your own people helping you. I don't know if you agree or not.
Absolutely. And it's nice to have somebody just in your corner to go to bat for you. So Zach, I've known him since college. We were roommates. my junior year, and he was just a huge music fan. He didn't work in the industry. We just liked similar music. And I was starting to play shows, and he was like, hey, what if I just managed you? And it's been 6 years now. And
Wow.
I don't want another manager. He's always on my side. He's always going to bat for me. He's fighting for me through good and bad. So it's great having somebody on your team like that.
Yeah, and you could tell that it's sincere too, because what does a manager get out of it? It's not like the manager gets the fans asking for autographs after a show
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. So you know it's a labor of love when someone else is promoting your music. To shift gears a little bit, let's talk about what. Well, we'll stay on the topic just a little bit, but what can a beginner artist do to promote themselves?
Surround yourself with similar artists is the best idea I can offer. And it's the best thing you can do, period. Because not only will they support you in terms of getting your tracks heard, but they'll just support you as friends. The quicker you make friends who are making music, the quicker you'll level up your production, and the quicker you'll gain a fan base as well.
Yeah. With the fan base, how do you keep a fan base, and how do you grow your fan base?
I wish I knew. I like genuinely am confused sometimes when people listen to my music and I get feedback, and other times I'm surprised when I don't have listeners. It seems kind of arbitrary what hits and what doesn't. So I think the best thing you can do is just make as much music as you can, be honest with yourself and put it out there, and don't take anything personally. Just make your music for you and the fans will come.
Yeah, if you're consistent, and also if you engage with the fans, I think it's not a race, it's a marathon, as they say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a lot of my fans are, like, my biggest fans are musicians themselves. And I'm some of their biggest fans too. So it's not just a one-way street. It's a lot of mutual love and respect.
I think it's with the internet now, and with technology leveling the playing field for our artists, you know, and the bedroom producers, as they say, you know, you start to see this reciprocity of like you said, you listening to your friend's music, and your friend that makes music listening to your music, and it's no longer Madonna on stage with like a bunch of mindless vassals, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody is sort of interacting with everybody, and chances are the person that you listen to, you could interact with somehow, whether it be by Twitter or some sort of DM or something, you know?
Yeah. And that's how a lot of my friendships got started, was just a SoundCloud DM or something. It's funny, I'm in a like group chat now. We call ourselves A Collective, and it's a group of about 30 different artists. And all we do all day is joke around, talk music, support each other's stuff. And it's been going on for like 6 months now, I want to say. And I've become really close with a lot of these people. I talk to them daily, and it's just nice supporting them and being around them and having that community.
How do you find those communities?
That one was started by Misfit. It was just a random DM, like a group chat. I think he tweeted saying like, would anybody like to be in a group chat? And I just favorited it. And we had met once when he had come to Brooklyn. And so he added me to the chat, and then from there it just evolved, and all of a sudden it was 30 artists in there, and we just hang out and talk music all day.
So a lot of your musician friends are from New York?
A good amount are from New York, but a good amount are just from all over the world. So A Collective has artists in Hong Kong, in Italy, a bunch on the West Coast, a few in New York. So it's a cool split. Like one of the running jokes in the chat is, because we're so global, that whenever you enter the chat, no matter what time is, you say good morning. Because it's always morning for somebody, so you always say good morning.
One of the I guess the pain points of this quarantine that a lot of people I've been interviewing express is that yeah, sure, you get to make a lot of tracks at home, and sure, there's the live streams playing online, but you can't really meet people in person and sort of get that feedback, or playing live in front of people. There's a different vibe when you're in person, and I think a lot of people sort of miss that. But we're opening up now, so that's good. But do you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. There is such a huge difference between a genuine live show and a live stream. And that's not to knock the live streams. I've had so much fun on them, and they're a great solution during this whole pandemic. But there's something incredibly special about walking onto a stage and being, at least for me, I don't know if this is a feeling that translates for most artists, being absolutely terrified at first, and then getting on stage and playing the first song, and just relief and comfort and excitement just washing over me. And it's not the same. I can't chase that feeling through a computer screen.
Yeah. For me, it's that I could go up on stage. I don't mind, because I don't know. I guess I'm blessed with not being able to see a crowd because of the lights. I don't know. So I don't really care. I just pretend there's no one there, I guess. But I hate waiting. Like those 2 hours before you have to go on are just the worst, man.
Absolutely terrible. I have a terrible habit of, no matter when I'm playing, I'm the first one at the venue. Like no matter what, always there first.
Yeah.
And just pace for hours.
Yeah.
It's just like anybody who sees me is like, oh, good, he's crazy. He's out of his mind.
You're that guy.
But I'm just like excited and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm the food guy. I'm the guy that's always got food because I'm nervous. I just nervous eat until I go on and barf. So let's talk about playing live in New York. What's it like booking shows? Are you booking your own shows, or are you getting invited? Is this a collective? Does it have like a New York branch, I guess, or how does that all work for you?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of shows, everything is just kind of booked on my own. Usually somebody will either reach out to me or Zach directly, my manager, and we'll do the booking from there. And New York is always a wild scene. You can go from playing like giant shows. Like I've played Terminal 5. I opened up for Cashmere Cat and Sophie a couple of years ago, and that was one of the biggest shows I've ever played. And then I've also played bars for 3 people. You just never know what you're going to get in New York.
Yeah.
But they're all fun. They're all a blast. And I love every last one of them.
Yeah. When you're playing a bar full of 3 people, how do you treat that, or how do you feel about that?
I think it's really intimate, and I can have a lot of fun and experiment.
Yeah.
And it's especially exciting because you can really gauge each person's reaction, and you can see when you're hitting and when you're missing, versus a big show. Usually the lights, you can't even see the crowd.
Yeah.
And it's so loud up there you can't hear anything. Whereas a smaller show, you can definitely tell, like, uh-oh, this song's not hitting right. People do not like this song. I better get it out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
And like switch off.
Yeah. I think people that don't play live, they don't realize how easy it is to play big crowds as opposed to playing like smaller crowds, right? Because you could hear that guy in the background being like, this guy sucks. You know, or whatever, right?
Absolutely. And like I've played shows on like rooftops and bars with no stage, where I'm literally like on the same level as people, and people are touching my stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like at a house party. This is fun. It's like you're in the middle of things.
Okay, here's another one of these questions. I hope I don't offend you or whatever. Is it safe to say that your trademark is a beanie and a jean jacket?
Yeah, it's quickly becoming it, I think. Okay. I'm a big fan of the jean jacket beanie combo. I have probably about 15 beanies at this point.
Oh, wow.
I also have been wearing hats pretty constantly since quarantine began, because I very quickly into quarantine, I think it took me 2 days before I bleached my hair.
Oh.
And now I have half blonde hair, half brown roots, and I look like the Joker. So
No,
gotta hide
that's
that.
grunge though. That's grunge. You got the grunge thing going.
It is a little grunge. It would be cool, but I don't know if I'm pulling it off.
Let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about your earliest music memory. Do you have one?
Yeah. So do we want to talk like earliest music memory, like as a child learning how to
Yes.
play music?
Let's. What was the first song that you remember really getting into? Like, because I know for me, my mom tells me some music memories that I have that I don't even remember. So I guess they aren't really memory, but I remember being young and listening to Huey Lewis in the car and just being like,
Nice.
"Holy shit, this guy knows how to make a song," you know?
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
So I guess along those lines.
Yeah, I'm gonna say listening to the Queen's Greatest Hits album, and I remember listening to, I believe it's Radio Gaga, that has that really weird wah wah guitar pedal in the solo. No, it's I Want to Break Free. That guitar solo, I would rewind that guitar solo over and over and over again because I was probably 7 or 8, and I didn't know what that sound was, and I just wanted to know how to make it. And I'm just having this realization now, but like that's a Genesis story that like I've never even really thought too much about, but I was fascinated by that sound.
It all comes from your childhood. Like it's
Wow.
every trauma, every poor relationship, every broken bone is because when you're a kid and you drop that ice cream on the ground, you know?
Absolutely.
So you started early on listening to Queen. Were your parents or guardians like into music, or did you have people around you, teachers or anything that were kind of pushing you in that direction, or just had like a really awesome record collection?
Yeah, I mean, my dad always played music around the house. He was always singing. He's not a musician, but he just is a music lover. He's a lover of any sort of art. So I just kind of grew up in a household where art was appreciated, I think.
Yeah.
The first instrument I really learned was trombone. I picked that up in band in 4th grade and just kind of took to that and was pretty solid at that. I remember playing in the jazz band like a year ahead of time before I should have been. And then I started, I took like 1 or 2 guitar lessons, hated it. And then a couple of years later started teaching myself. And then from there, it's just been kind of a journey of moving in and out of production and learning guitar and what type of music I want to write. So it's been a whole adventure.
So after the jazz band, you I guess you stopped and you taught yourself guitar, and were you joining bands or you were doing your own solo stuff?
Yeah, so I formed bands technically by name. We never practiced or played songs or recorded anything, but we were bands in the sense that we made a MySpace page and created a logo and a band name. I remember one of them was called like Arrow Through the Apple, but we literally never recorded a song. So, and then I really didn't start recording music until, and this is something I don't like talking about just because it makes me like cringe a little bit.
Okay.
But my senior year of high school, I formed a rap duo with my best friend at the time. And it just wasn't the best music, but we were trying. We were doing our best.
Well, it's better to get that stuff out of the way when you could say, I was 12 when I did that, than, when you're 32 and you're, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was still a growing experience. I learned, I remember torrenting FL Studio because I couldn't find good beats. So I started making my own.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of it. That was the beginning of my production career.
When you started the rap duo, well, I'll spare you the cringe or whatever, but this is just a
we
lead
can dive into it. It's fine.
This is a lead
we might
into the
as well.
question.
Let's unpack it.
What was the motivation for that? Was it like MTV, or was it like the just culture, or you were just like a rap fan, or
I think I just liked hip hop. That was mostly what I listened to at the time.
Okay.
And I listened to a lot of what I would call now bad hip hop.
Okay.
Like corny white boy hip hop.
Okay.
And I
could think of one person that fits that description. Two people.
yeah, like that Asher Roth type hip hop where it's like rapping about college and drinking. And I was a senior in high school, and that was what I thought college was, and I kind of wanted to be a part of that.
Okay.
And then I very quickly got to college and was like, wow, I hate that culture. Get it as far away from me as possible. No.
Yeah.
And immediately switched it up. But I think it was just kind of being young and dumb and wanting to have fun.
Yeah. Let's talk about the teaching yourself to play guitar. How did you? Sorry, I forgot to turn off my notifications here. How did you? What did you learn to play guitar with? Were you playing like Nirvana songs, or was it like classical? Because you said you came from a jazz background. How did you start?
Yeah. A lot of just like alternative rock, punk rock. I was really into Green Day. So I think I learned most of American Idiot when that came out.
Okay.
And that was all through tabs. I also remember I would come home after school every day, and I'd go to my TV and I'd go to like the video on demand setting, because we had just gotten like a TiVo or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I would watch the Favor House Atlantic video by Coheed and Cambria over and over and over again to try and learn that, because I loved that song. So it was a lot of just like trial and error, because even though I played in a jazz band, I didn't retain any of the theory.
Yeah.
So I couldn't read sheet music.
Yeah.
So it was all by tabs and by ear.
It's funny because you mentioned Green Day, and love them or hate them, they're a great sort of source for beginners to learn how to make music, because a lot of their classic songs that you hear on the radio are just 3 chords, 3-chord pump, just like the Ramones or something, and for any instrument, even the drumming. I mean, Trey Cool, I think that's his name, right? He his drumming is frantic and crazy, but I mean, if you play it slow, you could do it, you can learn off of it, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's a good lesson for just songwriters in general, that simple doesn't mean bad and complicated doesn't equal good. You can write a very, very simple 3-chord song and it can really change the world a little bit. I think American Idiot was like a very tumultuous album in like a pretty intense time.
I think we're starting to learn that they're all intense times.
Yeah, true.
It's like, when do they
say
stop?
that now, looking back at, what was that, like 2004?
Yeah.
And
the history books are going to be, hey, remember those 15 days that were cool?
Yeah.
Right. It's just always a shit show, Let's talk about songwriting for a bit. Like, let's get generic here and say, what is your process of writing songs?
So it kind of varies. Sometimes it's just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And that is completely hit or miss. Sometimes I'd say like 8 out of 10 times when I do that, I start a project and then I never open it again. It just goes away. It's more of just like a writing exercise. And then the other times, like today, what I did, I actually tweeted out that I was going to work on my songwriting. So I asked for suggestions of what type of song I should write, whether it's an artist or a style or a genre. And I got a bunch of requests for pop punk, which is a song style that I've never really experimented with. So I just sat down for an hour. I gave myself a hard hour and just recorded a pop punk song that is terrible and unmixed, but it is distinctly pop punk. So that was a lot of fun. It's mainly just experimentation now.
Yeah, experimentation. You mentioned pop punk, and it's a word that pop is a word that is it's sort of notorious, I guess, because I see you consider yourself a pop musician sometimes, but you're also doing other styles. But when I think of pop, I think of Madonna, Britney Spears. I think of, that sort of, I I don't know, like can be played at a disco hall, I guess, and has like lots of fake instruments in it, overproduced. But when I listen to your music that you classify as pop, I don't really think it's pop. I think it's sort of indie. Do you feel the same about the label, or is that just sort of a label that you acquiesce to for people to be able to find your music?
It's weird because I think the term pop is just such an umbrella in the same way that EDM is an umbrella.
Yeah.
And I think traditionally, like you said, like the Britneys and the Madonnas of the world ruled pop, and that was like cookie cutter pop music. But now I think with Spotify and radio just meaning less for popular music, and now it's all playlisting on Spotify, and how things do, like for example on TikTok is a huge way to make us hit now, which is insane to me. Yeah. I think pop has just branched off into so many different channels. So I think indie pop is probably a more accurate descriptor of my music.
I think didn't Lil Nas get big because of TikTok?
Yeah, Lil Nas did. I can't remember who the artist was, but I saw somebody tweet yesterday that their song just hit 1 billion plays on TikTok.
Fucked.
And it's like, what? Are you kidding? That's so many plays.
Wow.
That's so many plays.
Wow. I'm sure that in Spotify revenue, that's like a $50 Amazon gift certificate they send you or something.
Don't get me started on that. Spotify it hurts because like,
let's get you started on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have one big hit on Spotify.
Okay.
It's roughly 20 million plays now.
Wow.
It's a song I produced. Yeah. So it popped. It like didn't just like, oh, do okay. It like blew up out of nowhere. Did really well. And I don't want to like get into big numbers details, but it is not the amount of money that you would think. It is not enough to live off of.
It depends
or even close.
When you say it's not what you think it would be, it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to another musician, they could probably accurately describe how much you're getting ripped off, Yeah. But for like a normal person, they'd probably be shocked. I heard that Pharrell's Happy song made like $1,000, even though it was like streamed like a bajillion times.
Oh God. I could imagine with like artist splits and everything. It can get real messy really quickly. Basically what happened with mine is the song got signed to a label and I was unaware of this. Oh, wow. So I just didn't see any money and I was like, what's happening?
How did that get signed to a label and you not know?
It's a long story that I don't even know the details of, but It happened. It's in the past and like everything's fine. It just was a little bit of a headache getting the money, but it happened, and that happens sometimes in the industry, so I'm not upset about it or anything. But it can get a little stressful when it comes to Spotify.
But I thought Napster was the hero. I thought he was the chosen one. I thought we were going to take down the evil Sith labels, and we were all going to get our royalties. What the hell happened?
I'm waiting for LimeWire to make a comeback.
Yeah, me too. But what happened, man? Like you hear so many of these stories of people getting screwed over of these streaming platforms, and I'm like, why? What happened? I thought we won. I thought we got the control over our music destinies. How are people still getting screwed over?
I wish I had answers because I think so many artists are in desperate need of answers. I think the only like real solution right now is like a site like Bandcamp that gives artists most of the freedom and the control.
Yeah.
But even that is just not as popular. You have to specifically send people there. So I just don't think it's as efficient in a world where so many people are just on their phones streaming. They don't want to go to Bandcamp and buy a song and put it in iTunes and then put it on their actual phone.
Yeah. People are lazy. That's what a lot of people I've interviewed seem to come to that conclusion,
Yeah, I mean, I certainly am. I'm so incredibly lazy. I'm so good at doing nothing because it's so easy to, especially now. It's just like I roll out of bed and I can go, I could watch Avatar. The Last Airbender. Yeah, I could dig into that.
Yeah. What do you think Bandcamp should do in this sort of age of, or do you think they're kind of almost in a good spot because they know the people that are going to Bandcamp are really the true fans, you know? Whereas the streamers, it's not that they aren't true fans, it's just they're kind of like, it's not a big deal for them. They don't care about the quality or whatever of the stream.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how we can reroute listeners like that. I wish there was a way to, or even like a streaming platform. Apple Music pays its artists better than Spotify. Not by a lot, but a little bit better.
Yeah.
Tidal pays the best, but no one uses Tidal. So it's just like, how do we get our fair shake of things?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, maybe I should move on because we'll spend the next hour starting a brain trust trying to figure out how to replace Spotify.
Yeah. There's been a few jokes about it on Twitter of like people starting like a SoundCloud union or like a music producer union to make sure we get our fair share. Because like with Live Nation too, I don't know. Did you hear what happened with Live Nation?
No.
They basically said if any artist wants to cancel a show because of COVID, they have to pay double their booking fee.
Wow.
As a fine. So everyone was very up in arms, and rightfully so, being like, that seems kind of underhanded.
Yeah. Man, I got screwed over out of $700 of concert tickets. I mean, it would be pre-COVID. It was just unmissable act after unmissable act, and I was just like, every paycheck I was buying one, and I was like, okay, my summer is booked, and they all got canceled. But the point of the story is I can't refund a single one of these freaking tickets.
Oh my god, that's insane.
I know. I'm not a fan. But anyways, I guess Hatsune Miku will come to Montreal next year, I guess. But
okay, that's not bad. There's worse shows to see.
Yeah. Let's talk about. It seems like you're into video games. I see you're tweeting about Pokemon and then the Animal Crossing thing. Is this like a reoccurring theme for you, like gaming?
So, surprisingly, no. I never was a gamer. Really, until quarantine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I owned an Xbox and I owned a Switch, but I didn't really have time to dig into it until now.
Yeah.
So I've been finding myself playing a lot of video games, which I haven't really done since I was probably in like middle school or high school. And it's fun. It's a good escape. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you find that you... For me, I play a lot of like old arcade games, and the thing I like about them is I don't really have to pay attention to the story or whatever, and it's kind of just like I don't even really care if I'm winning at them. You know, I just sit there and I sort of meditate, and after 20 minutes, I've worked out all these problems in my head about my week, about what I have to do for the podcast or music or whatever in my life, and I find something about them, they just kind of activate your brain and gets it moving. Do you find it's the same or?
Somewhat. Depends on the game for sure. Animal Crossing, I find really relaxes me.
Yeah.
It's a great way to go to bed.
Yeah.
Call of Duty, which I've been playing a lot, which I haven't played in years, gets me ready to go. My adrenaline is going after, and that will be my motivation to like get up and do the dishes.
Yeah.
I'll be like, great. My heart is pounding and my hands are sweaty. Let's be productive.
Yeah. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time. I totally appreciate it. I have a couple more questions I want to ask before we wrap up, if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
There's a couple of things you mentioned. You were saying for new artists that they should surround themselves with similar artists. I think there's some people out there that are shy, and they kind of hide behind. Well, I don't want to say hide, but they use like avatars to sort of present themselves because they're not really good with networking. For someone who like you seems sort of outgoing, how would you coach like a young person to kind of meet people who are similar artist to them as them, but like in real life?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say I consider myself pretty introverted. I know I can seem outgoing, but when I go out to a bar or a concert, I immediately come home and lock myself in a room alone. So I totally understand the fear and the anxiety that's associated with meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my advice to somebody who is trying to get to know people is it's totally okay to do that online.
Yeah.
It's now kind of commonplace, especially right this moment. And it's okay if you don't show your face. Camoufly, who is an artist who I released a song with, who's also in a collective. I don't know what he looks like. I have never seen his face. His thing is that he wears a hoodie and he has it pulled over his face, and I don't know what he looks like. But I would still consider him a friend. And you don't need to be super outgoing. Just be yourself, put yourself out there, and like-minded people will come forward and be your friend.
Sound advice. What about your voice warm-up routines? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh God, I don't have any. I just started singing. I had never recorded myself singing until I Wish I Didn't Go Out. That was the first time. And I should probably learn some vocal warm-ups and some vocal training because I am a mess when it comes to recording.
Did you, so you just started, you didn't take any training, or you didn't see like a vocal coach or anything like that?
No, nothing other than like singing in choir in high school.
Okay.
And I was in the musicals in high school. I was the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow. Tin Man. Yeah, that's surprising because, well, I guess though that's some good experience. You know, you need to have some pipes to be in the choir. So I guess you learned some formal training there. What would you recommend for someone who just wants to begin singing, but doesn't have that background, you know, but they want to put some singing over top of their tracks? Do you think they should collaborate with someone, or do you think they should see someone that could help them learn to be a better singer? Or
Yeah, I think first off, just dive into it. The way I started recording vocals was I would record some takes and I sent them to a bunch of people, but two people that were really helpful were Zavi and William Crooks. And they gave me really detailed feedback on not just like the production aspect, but my actual delivery. William gave me some great sound advice that was just, you sound nervous, drink 2 beers and then go re-record it and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that was the final take. So just getting any sort of outside perspective and taking it with a grain of salt. You're going to be rough at the beginning, but you can always improve.
I'm going to combine these two questions here. I wanted to ask you about your live show and what gear you were using, but I also wanted to ask you about your live streams. What is your approach to the live streams, and are you using the same sort of gear that you would in IRL?
Yeah, so I use an APC-40 for all my live sets. If I'm doing an actual live show, I'll bring my guitar and my bass and my keyboard along. But for just a DJ set, I just run it through Ableton. I have a custom template that I made. And I've basically got all my music. It's about 400 songs in my Ableton rack. And I've got them organized by key and by genre, so I can mix on the fly. I don't pre-plan anything. Mm-hmm. And I do pretty much the same approach for a live stream set that I would do for like a live DJ set. The only difference is I've been making it a game for myself to drop as many songs as possible, just because it's a limited time frame. So I've been dropping anywhere from like 25 to 30 songs in a 30-minute set. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been exciting just sitting in my room, and I still jump around and bounce and like treat it like a party. I have little strobe lights that I turn on and try and have as much of a live experience as I can.
Yeah. On your Instagram, it looks like that you party a lot. Is that safe to say, or?
I think that's a little bit of the Instagram selectiveness.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't posted on Instagram besides like posting about Black Lives Matter and relevant issues in quite some time. And even then, the posts are usually a couple weeks apart. They're usually like show photos. So I'd say that's really mostly when I party.
So let's wrap up here. Like I said, thank you so much for your time, Michael. I appreciate it. What can we expect on the horizon? I guess your Animal Crossing tribute is coming out tomorrow.
Yep, that's coming out tomorrow. And I'm working on a ton of new music. I'm trying to put together an EP. No anticipated release date yet, but that is definitely in the works. So be on the lookout for that. And in terms of anything else, just keep your ears open. I'm going to be dropping stuff very soon.
And can you tell us where we could reach you at your socials?
Yeah. So all my socials are at Michael Mason Sucks. That's with an S, with an X rather.
Okay.
SUX. And you can reach me there and feel free to say hello. I'm pretty free these days, so I'm happy to chat. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Or trade Animal Crossing items.
Yeah, let me know what fruits you have. We can trade fruits.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Totally appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye.